Go find an apartment with your son. It's his home. It's in his name. So in February of 2016, you'd been living in the home for 2 months. I know exactly what you did. I know exactly what you wanted, what you thought you were entitled to, and I know exactly what you did. I don't like when somebody circumvents the process by filing a restraining order when there is no basis for it in order to get a leg up in what isn't even a matrimonial action because the two of you aren't married. I want to see the allegations that you made against Mr. Gustafson to get him removed from his own home.
The locks were changed. We lived there. He lived in Monticello.
Just a second. Just because you changed the locks doesn't make you any less of a squatter. You're a squatter when you live someplace that isn't yours that you don't pay rent on. That makes you a squatter. Go find an apartment with your son.
Imagine buying your own house, feeling like a king in your castle, only for your so-called queen to stage a coup 2 months later. This guy let his girlfriend and her kid move in, thinking he was building a family. Turns out she was playing real-life Monopoly, except instead of pass go, she went straight to get out it's my house now. But karma has a GPS, and it led her straight to Judge Judy's courtroom. And if you've ever seen Judge Judy in action, you know she doesn't hand out sympathy. She hands out verbal beatdowns. She made sure this woman understood that if she wanted a house, she had 2 options: work for it like everyone else, or find a genie willing to grant her delusions. Spoiler alert, there was no genie, only the cold, hard slap of reality.
Miss Meadows, who is this young man?
It's my son, Gavin.
How old is he?
17.
This might not get pretty, so you want to have Gavin step outside for a while?
Sure. Come this way.
Miss Meadows, you and Mr. Gustafson lived together as a couple for a long time. At some point, according to your complaint and Mr. Gustafson's answer, you decided to buy a home. According to you together, according to Mr. Gustafson, it was his home. The deed to the home is in his name alone. Is that correct?
Correct.
There's some discrepancy as to who put down the down payment, who paid the bills. I don't know. I will find out. But at some point, the two of you weren't getting along. And at that point, it looks as if you filed for a protective order and had Mr. Gustafson excluded from the home.
Correct.
And that lasted almost a year.
Correct.
While it wound around the court system.
We had been living in the home approximately 2 months.
And the home was in Mr. Gustafson's name, so it was his home because you were unmarried.
We bought it together, Your Honor.
Doesn't matter. The home is in his name. You're not married. The home is in what state?
Minnesota.
Minnesota, I assume, has the same laws as most places where you either have community property or equitable distribution if you're married and nothing if you're not, right? Nothing. So in February of 2016, you'd been living in the home for 2 months. What kind of work were you doing?
At that time, I was a hairdresser, and I had my own business with my leather works.
Did you file tax returns in 2016?
Yes, I did.
How much did you claim that you earned in 2016?
I don't recall.
Give me a figure. 10, 20, 30,000?
$20,000.
$20,000. And what kind of work do you do?
I'm a union carpenter.
And how much did you claim that you earned in 2016?
I believe it was $72,000.
So clearly you were supportive of the household.
Yes.
How much of a down payment was put down on this house?
$1,000.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And what was the total purchase price of the house?
$206,000.
Whose name was on the mortgage?
His
Mine
name
was.
was.
Alone.
Correct.
So he is totally responsible for the mortgage, a $205,000 mortgage, with a mortgage payment of how much, sir?
$1,300.
And the taxes, which you paid.
Yes.
In February of 2016, which is the date of your first restraining order after you moved into the house, I'd like to see a copy of what you alleged. Because ultimately, this is what the case is about. You want money owed for lost wages and fees due to a false restraining order. The fact that when he finally got back into his own home, you claim he returned the property that was there while you were there for the year. Some of the property was vandalized. And punitive damages for an assault. That's what your claim is about. And he says he wants money for attorney's fees and vandalism. So that's why we're getting into all this minutiae. So I would like to see in February 2016 what allegations you made against the defendant in order to get him removed from his own house.
Your Honor, okay.
Don't answer me.
Okay.
I want to see the allegations that you made against Mr. Gustafson to get him removed from his own home.
That's a fair question, and let's be honest. We're all thinking the same thing. How does the guy who bought the house end up on the sidewalk, while the woman who didn't pay a dime for it gets to redecorate? What kind of reverse home invasion is this? If they had an argument, the logical move would have been for her to pack up, grab her kid, and exit stage left. But no, she skipped that part and went straight to call the cops and claim the castle. Last time I checked, relationship problems don't come with an eviction notice for the homeowner. What's next? Borrowing someone's car and calling the police to report them for trespassing? This wasn't a breakup. This was a heist, and she almost got away with it.
I'm reading your complaint. In February
different one.
2016, he started drinking and getting violent. I filed a restraining order and he was removed from the house. That's what you wrote. Do you want me to show you?
That was then, Your Honor, okay? That was then. And then he came back into the house.
No. I want to know, is that the truth or a mistake or a lie that in February 2016, you filed a restraining order against him and got him removed from the house? That's my question.
Yes, ma'am, that is
Then
true.
I want to see the allegations that you made in February of 2016 to get Mr. Gustafson removed from his own house. And I also would like to see any of the medical records or supporting documents that you had to get him removed from his own house. While she's looking for those, Mr. Gustafson, who paid the mortgage on the house for the 10 months that she was living there?
I did.
Who paid the taxes for the 10 months that she was living there?
I did.
Now this is where the story goes from bad to, are you kidding me? Imagine working hard, making those monthly payments and keeping the lights on, only to be locked out of your own house like an unwanted Airbnb guest. My guy wasn't just paying a mortgage. He was unknowingly sponsoring a Strangers Stay Free program. Meanwhile, his ex was living rent-free with VIP privileges, as if she was the one who signed the deed. How does someone who just showed up with a suitcase end up with more rights than the person who actually bought the place? At this point, she didn't just steal his home, she stole reality itself. And somehow, the system almost let it slide.
I take people who file charges of domestic violence very seriously, because domestic violence, whether it's perpetrated against a man or a woman, is an atrocious thing to have to live with. I don't like when somebody circumvents the process by filing a restraining order when there is no basis for it in order to get a leg up in what isn't even a matrimonial action, because the two of you aren't married. How long was he out of the house starting in February 2016, and you and your kid were living in the house, not paying the mortgage, not paying the taxes, and he was?
I did pay the mortgage and the taxes, and I have proof of those payments as well.
Sure. Just a second.
Okay, yep.
I would like you to tell me how long he was out of the house.
10 months, Your Honor.
10 months. And so what you're going to show me are the 10 months worth of mortgage payments and taxes. Go through
I
them.
don't have 10 months worth. I have the first months, and he changed the passwords on everything so nobody
Just a
could make
sec.
the payments but himself.
Listen to me carefully. The answer is you didn't make payments on the mortgage or the taxes. You have an excuse.
Now this part was straight-up comedy. When the judge asked who was making the payments, she confidently claimed, "I did," as if she had been out there grinding to keep the roof over their heads. But then came the plot twist. When asked for proof, she suddenly switched gears faster than a getaway driver. Well, actually, I only paid for the first month." Oh, so it went from her covering 10 months to barely covering 1? That's not paying a mortgage. That's a trial period. So, let's do the math. They lived together for 2 months, she paid once, and then she stayed another 10 months rent-free with her son, treating this man's house like a government assistance program. And the worst part? He wasn't even hiring. He just wanted to support his girl and her kid, not finance a long-term squatter's retreat. She had him unlawfully evicted from his premises. She should have been charged for lying. Exactly. She pulled off an illegal eviction like it was just another Tuesday. At this point, if lying was a crime, she'd be serving consecutive life sentences. The fact that she tried to gaslight the court and almost got away with it is insane. Someone get this woman an Oscar, because that performance was next-level fraud. The judge who ordered him out of his own home needs to be investigated. That previous judge must have been running on low battery, because there's no way a fully charged brain would sign off on this. Imagine looking at a man who bought a house and thinking, Yeah, he's the one who needs to leave. That's not justice. That's pure lunacy. Somebody checked their credentials because they might have gotten their law degree from a cereal box. 30 years ago, she would be seen as an evil villain straight from a fiction novel. Today, she's common. Facts. Back in the day, this woman would have been the villain in a gothic horror novel, probably named Madame Deception or something. But now, she's just another Tuesday headline. Society really went from cautionary tale to standard practice, and that's a terrifying upgrade.
You and your kid live there, rent-free, mortgage-free, in his house, based upon a restraining order that you don't have. How did I know you either wouldn't have it or it would be a whole lot of baloney? So then the two of you hired lawyers, and then everybody's spending money. Did you pay your lawyers? Did you pay your lawyer?
Yes, I did.
How much did you pay him?
$2,000.
What's the name of your lawyer? And how much have you paid that lawyer?
I paid him $7,000 and I still owe him $10,000.
So now, for no valid reason that I can think of, he's out of the house. It's his house. He's paying the mortgage. He's paying the taxes. You want to stay there? Send the check to him. You don't have to pay the mortgage. You know what the mortgage is. You know what the taxes are. So now, 10 months later, something happens. You want to tell me what happened? I mean, I read your complaint. I know I see what happened. You want to tell me what happened?
Sure.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
10 months later.
10 months later, he starts calling and says, my lawyer quit, you won. I have that in all the text messages.
Right. My lawyer quit. You outlasted him. You were able to pay a lawyer. You were able to keep this thing going in the courts. He had no more money to pay the lawyer. You weren't paying the mortgage. He was. Okay, so he said, you won. I got exactly what you did. Precisely what you did. So you said what?
Your Honor.
So you said what?
I said, well, let's make a deal then.
Good. Let's make a deal. I want you to tell me what deal you wanted to make with him for his own house.
I wanted to buy the house from him.
For how much?
For the $206,000 plus any money that he put into it. It was arranged with our lawyers in the documents I have.
Okay. And you were prepared to pay him that and get another mortgage on your $20,000 a year income. And there are 1,000 banks after 2008 who are going to give you a mortgage on a $206,000 house on $20,000 worth of income.
Now, here's where things take a dark turn. This guy hit rock bottom. He was financially drained and ready to just let her have it, hoping the nightmare would end. I get it. After spending $177,000 to save a house that wasn't even his fault to lose, he was probably thinking, what's the point? But let's talk about her for a second. Why the hell did she think it was okay to steal someone else's property? It was a yard sale bargain. The audacity to not only kick him out, but also try to keep the house after financially draining him. She was playing real-life Monopoly, except his money was the game piece, and she was about to bank on a deal where she had no skin in the game. The nerve of it. And then the judge came in, straight up reading her like an open book. It was like she walked into court with a well-rehearsed script, but the judge saw right through her nonsense. She wasn't fooling anyone. After squeezing him dry, she still had the nerve to talk about deals? Girl, you don't even earn enough to cover your own rent, let alone a mortgage. What planet did she think she was on?
The locks were changed. We lived there. He lived in
Just a second.
Monticello.
Just because you changed the locks doesn't make you any less of a squatter. You're a squatter when you live someplace that isn't yours, that you don't pay rent on. That makes you a squatter.
I have equitable rights, Your Honor.
No, you didn't. No court in this country will tell you had equitable rights in this country. Equitable is when you're married. You're not.
So all the money that I put in is just out the window.
You didn't put in any money. You lived in the house for 2 months before you filed a restraining order. There was a total of $1,000 put down on the house, according to you, which is what you told me before. And he paid the mortgage for 10 months while you and your kid were living there. So how much money did you put into the house in the 2 months you were living there?
Oh, this part was golden. She kept talking about the investment she made in the house like she was some kind of real estate mogul. Girl, the only investment you made was in your delusions. But then Judge Judy, being the queen of no-nonsense, stepped in and shut that fantasy down faster than you can say, fraud alert. She asked the million-dollar question. How could you possibly have invested in the property when the deposit was only $1,000? And let's not forget, she only paid the first month's rent and then lived rent-free for 10 months. That's not an investment. That's a free vacation on someone else's dime. So, let me ask again. What exactly did she invest in? The only thing she invested was her time pretending to be a homeowner, and even that didn't cost her a penny. Judge Judy saw through that whole act, and you know she was loving every second of it.
So for 2 months, you put in $1,900, which is what you're going to show me. That's your equitable right in a $206,000 house. And you live there, 3 of you, I assume, you, your kid, and the defendant. Am I correct?
After the 2 months?
Just a second. Before the 2 months. After the 2 months, you had him thrown out of his own house, and you paid nothing. So what I'm asking you is, what equitable right do you think you have in this house? And if what you're telling me is $1,900, I'll tell you that you owe him rent for 10 months. Is this matter finally finished in the courts?
Yes.
And what happened?
She got ejected.
Somebody finally woke up, right? Did they finally wake up?
If owning a house was this easy, we'd all be sipping cocktails in our dream mansions right now. But reality doesn't work like that, unless you're her, apparently. She kept bringing up this so-called investment. She put down serious money. But in reality, she was talking about a grand total of $1,900. Oh, wow. Huge contribution. Someone call Forbes. She really thought that tiny payment made her a co-owner, like she unlocked a DLC for home ownership mode. But then came the chef's kiss moment. The judge hit her with the truth bomb. Finally, someone woke up and did the right thing. Because let's be real, believing you own a house just because you made one mortgage payment is wild. That's like paying for one meal at a restaurant and thinking you now own the whole franchise.
You said he assaulted you. On what date did he assault you?
3/10/2017.
I would like to see the medical records.
There is no medical records, Your Honor.
I'd like to see a visit to a doctor.
There isn't a visit to the doctor.
Assault means an injury.
Your Honor, he had me in a headlock throwing me down the stairs.
If somebody threw me down a flight of stairs, I would go see a doctor if somebody threw me
Your
down the
Honor,
stairs.
he attempted to. I was biting him as hard as I could, and I held on for dear life until the police came.
I'm dismissing your case. Now I'm going to entertain his case. I have to see what you're suing for, sir. What was vandalized?
2 windows were broken, screens were broken, graffiti on the walls.
Do you have photographs for me?
I have a few, yes.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Gustafson?
Yes.
The easiest thing for you to have counterclaimed for, which would have been really easy for me, is the mortgage payments and the taxes for the 10 months that she and her kid lived there and paid nothing and were squatters in your home for no reason, because there was no justification for her getting a removal order against you. She has no proof.
Your Honor, may I please state my case?
The easiest thing would have been for me to just give you, sir, your mortgage payment for that 10 months. Don't you think she owes you for that?
Yes.
Did she ever pay you for that?
No.
You can tell this guy is a genuinely nice person. Maybe too nice. He wasn't even asking to recover the mortgage payments he made while she and her son were living rent-free. He was just ready to cut his losses and move on. But Judge Judy? Oh, she wasn't about to let that nonsense slide. She came in like the justice dealer she is and made sure fairness was served on a silver platter. Because let's be real, why the hell should she get to live on his property for free? That's not a breakup, that's a heist. The judge said it best. My life would be a lot easier if you were willing to recover your money. And honestly, same. Because if people could just walk away from money like that, landlords would be out of business.
Miss Meadows, who is this young man?
It's my son, Gavin,
How old is he?
17.
This might not get pretty, so you want to have Gavin step outside for a while? Sure.
You gotta hand it to Judge Judy. She knew exactly what she was doing when she asked him to step out. The moment she read through the case files, she already saw the train wreck coming. And trust me, it was about to get ugly. She wasn't just thinking ahead, she was preventing an all-out courtroom meltdown. She knew that once the truth started unfolding, his ex's mother was about to take some serious heat, and the last thing anyone needed was her teenage son witnessing the mess. That was just a preemptive strike against unnecessary drama, because let's be real, the courtroom already had enough of it. And there you have it, another episode of Modern Dating Gone Wrong, the Courtroom Edition. What did we learn today, gentlemen? Lesson number 1. If you buy a house, keep the deed in your name and your emotions in check. Because some people think paying $1,900 is the same as signing a mortgage. Lesson number 2. Love might be blind, but the law isn't. No matter how much someone sweet talks you, the judge will always ask for receipts. Lesson number 3. Moving someone into your home too soon can turn into a hostage situation with paperwork. Choose wisely. This guy dodged a financial nuke, and thankfully, Judge Judy was there to press the justice button before his ex walked away with the whole house. Fellas, let this be a warning. The wrong woman can cost you more than just your peace of mind. She might cost you your damn house. Stay sharp, protect your assets, and as always, don't let clownery ruin your finances. If you enjoyed and want to help my channel create more content like this, I'd appreciate your support by donating on Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. And hit that like button. Like the laws hit her lies on the court. Subscribe for more, and drop a comment below. Have you ever seen a crazier entitlement story than this? Let's talk about it.